Hello and welcome once again to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me. It is review number 70, part 4 of my series, The Perfect 10, looking at some 10-year-old Scottish single malts of notability. And we're staying in the islands. We were, last time, we were down in the Isle of Arran. This time we've moved up a little to the Isle of Mull and Tobermory distillery with the Let-chic 10-year-old. As I say, Isle of Mull, Tobermory distillery. This is their peated malt, and the Tobermory distillery there owned by the Distell Group. This Let-chic 10-year-old was first released in 2007, and as I say, it is their peated malt. They separate themselves. They have their Tobermory named product and the Let-chic, which is their peated malt. That's that explained. This one is bottled at, let me check, 46.3%. Yes, I pulled that from the back of my head somewhere. It is non-chill filtered. I couldn't find record of whether there was colour added or not, so we take it for granted that there is. But, you know, yet again, if there is, there ain't a lot. There ain't a lot. This whiskey, before we go much further, is proof positive, if ever it was needed, that not only Islay makes good peated whiskey. Alright, now let's get to why. So, I don't think I've had a whiskey yet. Now remember, I'm still a novice. That does mean something, but I don't think I've had a whiskey yet like the Let-chic 10, which has changed so much as I've went down it. When I opened this bottle, and I would imagine when I open the next bottle and the bottle after that, so much do I think of it, that when I opened it, it had a toffee, caramel, the toffee bars, the real hard toffee nose of it, and just that was really the thing that it was all about. And it was just a creamy vanilla toffee thing, and I thought it was great immediately. But it coined this for me coined a phrase, and I've never, it must be one of my own, I haven't heard anybody else using it. It was a PEAT sleeper. What I've decided, or what I've chosen to call a PEAT sleeper, and there's been a few of them out there. In that, if you pour this in a glass, immediately, you know, without giving it time to settle, etc., that creamy vanilla toffee bar thing will still be there. Now, since it's went down over the shoulder, since it's had air in it, you can see this is almost finished. It has changed in that time, and there's not as much toffee now, but when you let this one sit, this is as big a peat beast as you'll get, really. You know, it's got all the peat going on, but it's what I like about a good peated whiskey, in that it's got more going on. So without further ado, let's get into it. I've talked it up enough. Now I'm going to hit you with something, a little local colloquialism, a little thing that we say here in Northern Ireland: brown fish. Really, you're looking at smoked fish, smoked whitefish, smoked cod, smoked haddock, but it's just called locally brown fish. We sees what we sees, and it really, it's smoked fish. Fresh mint. There's sulfur or cordite, even, as in shotgun cartridges, you know, that sort of gunfire thing. Brass, if you have old brass or something, that there is a very distinct smell of brass, and I get it in this. Burnt rubber. Honestly, at first, as I said, you got all that caramel, you got all that real richness and creaminess and stuff. Once the peat opens up in this, it's very hard to see beyond it. Other stuff is going on, but it's hard to get beyond that peat. But once you give it time, let it relax, let it settle, let it open up, and you can find those other things in behind it. The caramel is still there behind it. Red berries also. Barley sugar, very much so. Mince pies, sweet mince pies, some that you would imagine of sherried whiskey, which this ain't, but just sweet mince, yet again, very much there. Say it's kind of hard on the nose for this to break up. It's when you get into the palate that you really start to notice a development in it. Massive, not big, massive, salty, phenolic delivery. More of that brown fish. Weirdly, something I hadn't got yet again. I don't remember getting my tasting notes. Smoked cheese, very much so. Smoked cheese, which I love. So and when you go back, it's rich, it's creamy, creme brulee. Yeah. The palate and the nose almost, they're not black and white, but it's the difference in there. All that stuff that I mentioned from earlier in the bottle, all that creamy caramel, toffee bar, etc., all starts to come out in the palate. Peat's still very prominent in the palate, but it's all the other stuff that comes with it. Cracked black pepper, that smoked cheese I did not get before, but now very, very much so. And maybe it's making me realize why I like this whiskey so much, because I do like smoked cheese. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you do, but it's the little brown ones wrapped with a twist either end, little brown packet, white smoked cheese, kind of soft, kind of chewy. Yeah, very much in here. More sulfur, cinnamon, yet again, very much so. And a hint of orange as well. Just a hint. It's quite incredible, this whiskey. There's an awful lot going on. The finish, lengthy, little dry, peppery. Yeah. After a while, spent matches, fireworks, slight, it's the sulfur thing. An awful lot going on. I'm going to add some water, dash, yet again, not an awful lot. It can easily take it. It's quite thick. It's, as I said earlier, it's creamy. There's creaminess about it. And that still comes from that toffee or caramel thing, I think. It's just a strangely incredible whiskey. One that I've liked from day one. I don't even know, can't remember what attracted me to Let-chic. Because they're certainly not something you're going to see on your supermarket shelf. But I would highly, highly recommend checking this out if you like peated whiskey. If you're not a fan of peated whiskey, avoid, because this is, for me, as good as any other peated whiskey I've ever had. Much better than some / most. Dash of water brings out the wood, sawdust, yep, hay, dry notes, and also a little pine sap, but it's just trickling through all that. Smoother, creamier, again, creme brulee, again, toffee, more barley sugar, blackcurrant jam, yes, believe it or not. Finish actually, finish is actually quite fresh. That cinnamon thing runs through the finish. It's hot from the cinnamon, but it's not off-puttingly hot. It's nice. It just leaves you a nice memory. But very, very good. I would highly recommend Let-chic 10-year-old. Really highly recommend it. It's as I say, been one that sits for me. It's weird. I tend to keep it at the back of the cabinet and hide it away from myself. And when I did the tasting notes for this a few days ago, I'd forgotten how good it was. And the reason why I sort of hide it away from myself is it's a little treat every now and again to dig out and have. It's readily available. It's like 35 to 40 pounds here in the UK. It's not expensive. It's 10-year-old. Maybe for some it's a little expensive for a 10-year-old, but certainly among those in which it plays, it ain't expensive. So if you haven't already tried this, you really should. You really, really should. So there you go. So we'll move on from that and we'll do this. Yes, if you liked Let-chic 10-year-old, thinking along those lines, I'm going to say try Ardbeg Wee Beastie. I reviewed this prior. I'll throw a link in up here. It's the reason why I'm saying try Ardbeg Wee Beastie. Well, for one, it's around the same price range. It's also bottled at, well, it's 47.4%, 46.3%. But it's, yet again, when I opened this, I got that toffee thing. And I thought, happy days, brilliant, this is what I love. Toffee and caramel and vanilla, hint of vanilla, and then peat. And that's what I got when I opened this. And very, very quickly, it went all about bonfire and all about sulfur and things, and the caramel started to dissipate very, very quickly through it. But it's still there. It's still got the same idea going on, and I'm learning as I go along that that is the kind of peated whiskey I really like. This is why I like the Kilchoman Macker Bay so much. It's caramel and peat, but with it, peat's in the background. With these, peat is the main player. here's peat, here's what's going on behind it. And they do sort of, for me, fall in the same sort of place. So, if you like Let-chic 10-year-old and you haven't tried our big wee beastie, give it a go. It's novice recommended. So there you have it. That is Let-chic 10-year-old. It's been a few people actually have asked for a while for me to head to Mull, and I've been, yet again, part of the reason for a series. I generally build a series around whiskies that I want to review, and I'll maybe have a whiskey or a couple of whiskies that sort of spark something in my head, and I'll say that, right, they both fall into a category, so I'll make a category out of them, and then I'll put other whiskies in to join them. And very much Let-chic 10-year-old could have fallen into my peated reviews, but I just think it's such an accomplished 10-year-old that it had to be, for me, a standout in a group of 10-year-olds. So there you have it. Some 10-year-olds, very, very, very worth it. So they are. There you have it. I'll be back next time with another 10-year-old. Until then, thank you very, very much for joining me. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. If you wish to join that group, the link is below. Till the next time, here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.